Hello and welcome. It is Friday, the 13th day of September. My name is Derek. All bets, trades, and of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. I'll start off within the Bitcoin dominance, which over the last 2 days has managed to fall from barely below the 18 average of lows to microscopically right now barely above the 18 average of highs. Hanging in there in today's session, just hang up barely below or at that level. And every single time we've been seeing within this run up that while it's been correcting the 18 successfully, if it pierces below, it doesn't break those lows. In fact, it's only twice since the April 1st break it even managed to really get below it, which was, of course, during this multi month run in here and this and that was only a 2 month run, really, multi week run, rather, and multi day run here. Here, just a couple of days barely going through it. But when we see all this type of stuff, you have a high, you come back down to make your higher low within the 18, and then you exit out above it. That's when you can have the decent sized gains. Of course, getting out above here didn't have much, but getting above this most certainly had a spectacular play. It's also the doesn't gives you the sign that there is none of that for any kind of reversal yet within this market, and in fact, everything has been just magnificently and a large bullish scale, both since the June 13th bottom and the April 1st bottom. Regarding the Bitcoin chart, there continues to be nothing more to say about it. It's still in this sideways range that I've been talking about for the entire season, and we're only 1 week away to a new one. Its price in gold, it's pretty much in the same area as a Bitcoin right now is worth 6.89 ounces. Oh, no, sorry, 6.90 ounces of gold. And now we're back to the 89. Now on to the altcoins and the trading. Another day, another 9,683 Satoshi. And we will start with Cosmos Atom, which from the bottom on September the 5th is, well, had one good leg higher, and it looks like it's going to extend the second leg a little bit as well. The big day was a gain of 26.73% on September the 8th, which is approximately what the gain is over the last 24 hours, with 16 and a half coming in yesterday's session. Price managed to reach a top near 2,900 and then pulled back down to the 18 average of highs at the 24. It's just a small little correction, couple days staying in with good volatility at this higher level. And then the final lower volatile push down, and then big volatility yesterday. And or really nothing too large today, but continuation within the upward trajectory. Seeing this on the single hour term, and this level was just a matter, not Fibonacci. It was that of a previous low, or the low. It established the big resistance at 28 and a half. However, three times hit, and then lifting off from support when it originally got back to that level on the fourth time. And then the break, and where did it come back down to? Well, price action comes down microscopically above this level. And that in itself is a little interesting, because why didn't you come down a little further to like 27.95, 28? Okay, whatever. Price action came down to low 29. Nothing too fantastic since then, especially because of this much lower correction. Nothing, definitely, that's fine and dandy to have. But the reason why I say that is, if this thing could go off like the big moves we've seen in here, really at any given time, not as likely maybe as it was 10 or 20 minutes ago. We'll see more in the shorter term time frames. Still likely, because you have this great double move, especially the last correctionary move, very stable because you're able to maintain higher lows and higher highs within good volatility after the fact. Not just one big straight major elevator move up, but a running speed sprint up the stairs, I guess, is another way of looking at stuff like this. And then a little bit of falling back and forth. You fall off down the stairs, you recover. You're a tough person if you can handle that pain too. But you know what? This is what this market has. If you can feel it. You can avoid it too, but pain for a lot of people in these markets, and there has been within a lot of these down moves. But that's what comes with these massive volatile plays. We've seen a lot of these coins go up and down fast. Quickly going back to the daily again, we can see, oh, this market was up to like 9,000 down to here. That's a huge move down, and it's still significantly lower as the price action as we are at now was at all-time highs of the very short-term duration and tenure of this chart, which goes back to August the 5th, and it's still down from even this low here. It's down. Well, it's 4,800 now. It's at that of about three, so it's down like well over a third of its value. Okay, back again to the single hour, and yeah, just this green candle up, still correcting it, holding this little area here. But I want to see that more clearly on like the 15. And on the 15, we can see a lot of this support. Where do we see it? Here, first at 28, a little bit of a higher low, a little bit of a higher low. There is no, yes, I was going to say there's no like continuous support, but there actually is. It's the higher lows. But even in noticing here, notice the pattern of these higher lows. You establish this big low multiple hit at the 28 low. You pierce above it here, and then a little bit higher here, a little bit higher here. That's noticeably, that's a lot much more higher here compared to here. So this low again, it's okay. Why didn't we come down even to 29.47, 29.45? Are buyers, bulls that excited at this point to get in that early? Sellers not as resilient to sell, combination of the both, and or one or two. Well, another way of me saying that is because I don't know, it kind of makes me wonder if I see that. Are we really off for a big move coming soon? Because of it, nothing too fantastic. In fact, very, very low volume within this consolidation period, especially when you look at where it's been coming from here. So there's no sign it's going to happen anytime soon based on that, or if it's going to even happen at all. But of course, if big volume comes in later, keyword is just that of later. And yeah, so this move here where we're back down to it supporting this level here. Have we supported these two hits of resistance? And the answer to that would be it's pierced below it. So that would be, yeah, you could say that. And that's where this low is as well. So now we want to support a different higher area, this level of resistance in here, which I guess that's the only place it can go from this high. But yeah, mainly supporting in here. I think what's important looking at this in the 15, I really don't need to see any shorter terms now, is this 18 average of lows, which is barely but pretty much at that 3,000 Satoshi number. If I see any weakness throughout today's session, or if there is happens to be any weakness, whether I see it or not doesn't make a difference, but whether there's any difference or any weakness at 3,000, you start to see it not holding and starting to roll over from that area, then it's pretty safe to say that this point A low, point B high has came to a conclusion, and we're probably going to go down and stop the pattern of and start a pattern of lower lows. And of course, this previous level here, which was resistance here, and the previous, of course, big low from before, would probably, maybe, possibly, but be one of the areas. But it is what it is, and this is like one of the top gainers for the day, or at least for the last 24 hours, and well, that means three of these or so. You can see, yeah, it's had a pretty good gain, but still only like 20%. So again, there are no big gainers in this market. I do feel when you look at this how it's going that this looks to me as if we're going to that 3,300 area. And I calculated Fibonacci earlier, which shows me that the 38.2% comes in at 32.85, which is a pierce, which this number is a pierce above that. So I really do feel even more that it's going to go to that level, maybe even pierce a bit above that as well. And the 23.6, which came in at about 26.21, represented this area where it did congest in there, and wildly. Did it resist it? Did it support it? Really, neither. It congested it. That means it went above and below it, and it stayed within it for a while. And then it went above it here. So it's left that area. Okay. Yeah, I really do feel it's going to go to this upper area relatively soon. And relatively soon, it could do it this period next. Relatively soon, it could come back down, go sideways within this 18, maybe do like 6, 7 periods to break out, and then another 2 or 3 to go higher, maybe 10, 11, which would be 10 or 11 1/3 days, maybe 3 or 4 days to do it. So it could take it in the start of the new week as well. But I do feel that there's a good chance that it's going to happen. And as I mentioned just quickly before, but if it breaks down going lower, will that be an indication that it would make a move down to this 18 average of lows, as of course stated on this 3,000 number? And in looking at the top gainers, I mean, 22.75% is the best. Doc, I'm not going to show. Dash, I will show. Fuel, no. And EVX, I'm going to show because that one has just been wild. I looked at that 4 or 5 minutes before starting this video. I drew some lines in from months ago and they don't really mean anything at all. At least they mean, oh, is that your volatility? We're bigger. That's basically what it means. So let's take a look at Dash and then EVX next. And I did a quick video, for me anyway, on this yesterday. How at 3:01 p.m. Eastern Time it had a wild move. Came back down and then back up again. So let's take a look at this on a 1 hour time frame. There's that move. And it happened so fast. I'm not. I showed you the 1 minute yesterday. If you need to see it, you can look at it yourself on this, or you can watch that video. But interesting to say the least. I might have to make a new deposit soon. I'll tell you why in a bit. And now is a bit. See, originally what was happening is this thing went up big. So I got an alert instantly. This 1 minute it was happening. It says 1500. Yeah, it was but actually 1501 within the 15-minute period. So at 3:01 I get an alert telling me Dash was doing this. I go onto Binance. And I'm thinking, do I have any Dash available to me? Because oftentimes, if I buy a coin, say if I have no Dash and I sell Theta to buy Dash, which is what I trade this against, then I'll just leave the Dash there. I'm like, yeah, I don't really feel like withdrawing it. Plus, it costs like 30 cents, as if I care as much anyway. But yeah, I'll just put an order in. Say this is the price, put an order in for maybe twice or a little more, like 0.024 or something, and I doubt I'll sell it. I never do, really. In fact, actually, I never have on that set. But in case it goes there. But if I happen to have to trade it, it'll be there. So if I had any, and I only had 0.02, which is really nothing, then I would have sold it then. So nope, I have to go to my Trezor wallet deposit, and well, because it like literally went down so fast, nothing I can do. Okay, I'll just leave it and wait. And then just recently here, I end up selling it and it hasn't stopped going down anymore. I sold roughly around the .09 handle. Not like it's up much, it's only up 1 more % since the fact, but it hasn't stopped going up. And we had this move, and I heard someone comment like Coinbase, I guess is taking it. And I can find that out right now. Actually, now that I think about it, I could just see if do we see Coinbase on here? I don't see it. Okay, well maybe I don't know why it went up then. Maybe they were talking about it. They made the news that's going to happen on whatever day, and maybe it's happening right now at this stage because I don't know. But it's having a wild move at this exact moment. Definitely playing with large volatility on the single minute term. I mean, this is just consistently going up, like 721 all the way to 844. Just wild. And in here, have a little bit of a correction, and it's now just doing again very good rate of ascent so far. And you could have been saying in here, oh, it's overextended over here, and you keep on saying that. Look how long you can say it's overextended for. Okay, well now you can start saying again, it's starting to get sort of overextended from this high. But I'd even say it'd be more overextended if it got up to about here. But just because it's overextended, as we can see here, doesn't mean it can't stop going up. Now, what it didn't do during this run here, which was very live to do, was just truly explode. I mean, it did overall for what's the word away? Just grinding its way at an extreme level, grinding. But what I mean by really explode is having that 1, 2, 3 periods that are just so, oh my goodness. Like this big period was 0.65%. for a minute. I'm talking about going up 3, 5, 6% in a minute. But that is just some wild movements now that when you look at that. I mean, what are the size of these hour movements? You got 2.2, then you got nothing, half a percent, 1.5, almost 1, 2 and 2/3, and again 2 and 2/3. Okay, EVX is next, and yeah, I put some. I mean, you're gonna look at this, you're gonna see a lot of wild movements. I'm gonna start this up on the 3-day chart. Okay, so put these lines in, and I'm supposing I put them in for this low and this high, because the line starts back in here. And it does look like what Fibonacci, I guess, was supposed to. But what has happened since that fact is you have this high up near 13K. You then come down on this low at about 4K, more than a 3x move. Well, yeah, then about a 3x move again. Then about a 3x move again. And then greater than a 3x move, going from 3100, breaking out at 7100, and getting up over 37,000. That's about a close to a 12x move from the low to the high. And then you retrace almost 100. I don't need those lines anymore. You retrace almost 100% of that greater than 12x move, so you pretty much lost 12x on the way down. And here I'm saying, yeah, things are wild here, and look at the 3-day chart. Really? Okay, well, volatility has been remaining high, is I guess another way of putting it. Single day, it's like, yeah, what, I mean, okay, so it's got a little update. Doesn't look all that fantastic, and it's really retracing even from this high to this low, and still I don't see any signs that it's getting above and making the sell from high to low a failed move. None of these rallies have been succeeding. Like, this is just really failed move. Not much of a I mean, to a degree, not much of a fast move. I mean, the whole movement to go this was fast. Again, it fails, and then this is a leg lower, not much at all. But that doesn't mean that the fast move from these haven't finished. You break this support, that could happen later. I guess I don't know, fast word, maybe decisive move might be the better word to use, because sometimes it's fast and sometimes it just, well, it's not as quick. But boy was it huge, and boy was it concise, which is why I think that should be the word that I use. Anyway, I'll think about that. So then, what makes this so fantastic? Well, let's take a look at this on the 3-hour term. Well, I looked at this earlier. It looked actually pretty interesting. Maybe it was all this daily stuff that I was looking at. Was there anything short term that I liked? Yeah, this was. I looked at this. I was like, yeah, interesting. So short term volatility 35 to 4,000. Back down to, well, again, 36. Back up to the 4. Back up down to 37. Now up to 41. Nice little move leaving the 18. Just another way of saying that this market is a higher risk and higher volatility than not only common and below average ones, but even other markets that are highly volatile. This one can say, hey, you want to go a boxing round or whatever? I'm just using a term like as a dual battle. Oh, I'm going to kick your ass kind of attitude. Okay. Let's finish this off with and go, because it's got an interesting bullish pattern at 93 Satoshi on the hour time frame. We'll see if it does. It has to break through this resistance of 95. That's a must. Give most certainty for me to even be any type of confidence within it right now. At least very high confidence. All it's done from this high is consolidate correctly so far, but it's also doing so in a descending triangle, like that. I mentioned a couple of days ago how wild this thing has been in the volatility aspect, and it's given back about 80 plus percent from this low to this high, and that low comes in or came in at 79. After that, we've seen 100 and let's call it 123. But you have all of these wild, wild moves, and then it just gives it all. I mean, quick, like every candle down, 7% down, and then there's a 2% down, another three down, four down, three down, another percent down, break even, another 2% down, gets 3.4 back, but then it loses a bit more of it, and well, finally it has this rally of 8% in one period. Okay, it's gotten up to 18 average of highs and it's going sideways. That just does that flattens out the 18 average of lows. And I'd still like to see another period even say the 18 average of highs is in the flattening process, or at least get above to get to 95 for a period. But the 18 average of lows of highs is not going to stop declining until it can not at least hold this area anyway. But that's just a stage in one of those reversals that we're looking for. At any given time, you could just have like big moves in both directions, but especially in spots like, okay, here you already came off a big move after this type of stuff in here, doing this thing within the 18, and then when you left it, the excitation, it was a monstrous move. It's not. Sometimes it's going to be more monstrous or more larger of a play, and sometimes it might have only went up to 106, but it was as it was. But when you're up so big, you got to expect it to come down. So there's a come back down quickly. And then another fast move. Well, it's got to come back down. And oh my goodness, this was even quicker than I was going to think. But that's a whole part of this market. It's going to do that. And for just flipping coins back and forth, well, if you're doing it, the whole point of it is when the markets go like this, wherever your portfolio was right here, should even be noticeably better. And this is on what day? September 5th. Should be noticeably better. 1 week later, in 1 week, your portfolio should be not leaps and bounds, but noticeably in a better situation. And then even coming back down here again would even be better at this price point. Or your price point here is a bit better than it was here, noticeably better than it was here, a bit more noticeably here, and even more noticeably than back here. And then if we go even further, you should be nicely ahead of the game, at least based on not counting its price against the dollar, but its price against Bitcoin. You should be noticeably ahead of the amazing. Well, not amazing, but yeah, decently ahead of the game here. But when you get to the point of it, how about from here? Oh, okay. Maybe you're holding in there. Okay, how about from here if you started? Yeah. Risk versus reward. There can be some massive plays, and no matter how much you try to overperform these markets with this volatility, if the market goes down 8x, you got to have 8 times the amount of coins of this pretty much in order to break even priced in Bitcoin. So you're not going to do that. And if you did, how did you do that? But well, I don't answer that obviously, but because I know you didn't. But those things at any time could be like, oh, let's back up. Say you did get in at 800 and you bought at the high. Okay. First of all, if you're buying like this, you should have at least waited to start at like 688. But throwing that part aside, maybe when it gets back up to 356 or 312, you can say I'm right where it was back then. I'm back to even when I started at 800, and the market's down half its value plus. Yeah, I'll believe that. If and then maybe you're in here. It's like you started when you were back in May in here. Oh, I'm even. We started at 277, or you're even starting at 246, or even if starting at 150, 160. You've at 150, you've overperformed the market maybe 50, 60%, which is enough to break even. But like a lot of these coins, they've all taken major, major moves lower. Priced in Bitcoin, priced in the dollar. And a lot of them, especially the ones that were around way back when, and way back when was the end of 27, start of 2018, of course, even earlier than that, obviously. They're still well above some of those prices in US dollar from well, March, April, a lot, many different periods of 2017. All right then. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.